Hello students, hope you are good. In this session, we will continue our um, discussion as scheduled in our syllabus. And today, the discussion will be about the relationship between IoT and artificial intelligence or AI. This is the source um, of this presentation, and um, I will be start this discussion um, uh, to firstly discuss about the development of the AI. So actually today, recently, AI has reached an inflection point. It means that um, AI today um, has a quantum leap for in another words. I mean there is a, a more sophisticated and impactful development of IoT compared to 50 years ago. And this development of the development of AI um, become um, become easier because it is supported by several aspects, as you can see in this um, in this slide, that there are at least four aspects that made AI become more sophisticated and impactful as we know this time. The first aspect is the cost of technology. We know that uh, since there has been a development in technology, the advancement in technology, it makes um, the cost of technology become more efficient, and it helps the AI become more efficient in today's era. Another aspect is the development of supporting processes and algorithms. Um, as we know that the, um, for example, algorithms, it has been also developed in recent years after, as you can see, uh, nowadays we can easily find some courses about algorithms and coding and something like that. It shows us that algorithms and coding become more popular in this era, and that helps the development of AI. As we know that algorithms is um, one of the subsets of the AI. The third aspects that uh, become the trigger of the AI development is the development of computation power. Computation power means that uh, um, actually computation power is the computer performance. As we know that even in a year, the for example, uh, um, the CPUs producers like Intel or AMD, for example, even in one year they can they can introduce up to two two novel products. For example, um, uh, uh, in this year, in 2021, Intel introduced um, Intel 11th generation, and it is the new products from the new CPU products from Intel, replacing the oldest generation, the 10th generation. And of course, it makes the performance of computer, the performance of a device become more advanced, become more sophisticated. And it also helps the development of AI, of course. The last aspects um, that helps the development of AI is the development of graphic processors. For you, the gamers, you must be familiar with this thing, right? Because if you play a heavy game such as um, FIFA, for example, or dot I, and then another heavy games, you will need the graphic processors. Of course, the processors and then the RAM will help will affect the performance of the computers. But plays if you play a heavy game, then it will need more performance than um, the performance if you only have processors and RAM on your device. You will also need the graphic processors, just like Nvidia and then AMD. Yeah, that's the example of the graphic processors producers. It also helps the development of AI because um, to to perform and to produce a more sophisticated AI technology, you will need the the supports from this thing, the graphic processors. I mean, at least these four aspects you should know that it it this aspect is the main triggers of the development of artificial intelligence in this era. And then uh, you should also know that actually um, the AI nowadays become the main source, become the main supporting aspects for the development of IoT device. Um, according to Nikolai Wardstrom, the CEO of Bootstrap Labs, uh, according to his experience, uh, he thought that um, um, they don't sorry he didn't find any other technology that have a greater impact than AI. It shows how AI become very influential in the IoT industry. However, we should also note that uh, there there is also a dark side of AI development, as noted by Elon Musk. You should know him, right? He is a popular figure in the world today. He is the founder of Tesla and SpaceX. According to Elon Musk, we should be aware of the presence of AI because according to Musk, um, AI can be more dangerous than nuclear, right? This is the dark side of AI. That's why we should have a more comprehensive knowledge about the AI. It is vital for us to know what is actually AI, and then where is it headed, and then what are the implications for technical ecosystems, especially for IoT. That's why we will discuss about these issues. The first issues is about what is AI. So actually, AI commonly defined as the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. Um, it means that AI actually is a machine that is designed to have similar characteristics with our brain, human brain, and human behavior. However, this definition is uh, can't be the only definition that we should know, because this definition um, is not sufficient to explain what actually AI is. The broader definition of AI focused on the creation of any device that perceives its environment and takes actions that maximize its chance of successfully achieving its goals. So, based on this definition, actually AI is any device that will um, interact to any environment, and it could be take any data, it could be collect any data, um, it could be um, interpret something on that environment, and then take actions, and then analyze the data, and then provide anything that useful for the creators, anything that meets the creator's goals. That's actually the broader definition of AI. Um, it will be helpful for us when we try to understand what actually AI is, by understanding um, several fundamental tools of AI. At least we should know three fundamental tools of AI, which we are going to discuss in this session. The first one is machine learning, the second one is neural networks, and the third one is deep learning. Machine learning actually is the practice of using statistical techniques to allow an information system the ability to learn with data without being explicitly programmed. So actually, machine learning is a system or practice that use statistical tools to 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 allow the to allow the device learn about the data, and it could be done without explicitly program those systems. The machine learning itself is categorized into two category. The first one is supervised environment, and the second one is unsupervised environment. In supervised environment, the machine learning is given a set of data which it is um, short and categorized. We can see the example from the house prices. We can use supervised learning by um, make some labels toward data. For example, we collect data of houses and then make some labels on related to the size of the house, and then the number of rooms, and then the feature, and then the location, and then the price itself, of course. From that labeling, from that categorization, um, we then can, for example, can count um, the price of house with certain criteria, with certain category. For example, we have a house in Tembalang, and then the size is um, oh, 200 meters square, and then it has, for example, 3 rooms, and then 2 bedrooms, and then it has carports. It has a little garden inside the house, and then with those information, we can predict the price of that house by using the data that the machine learned um, before. But in supervised environment, please do remember that we actually um, quotes and quotes uh, helps this machine by giving labels on the data that collected by the machine. But in the unsupervised learning, the machine must recognize patterns in data on its own. For example, in finding customer segments, when you buy some products in online marketplace, you will be analyzed by this unsupervised machine learning, and the machine learning, the unsupervised machine learning will try by itself to recognize the patterns of 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 you, the patterns of A, B, C, D, E, and so on. and then they will capture the pattern of the consumption pattern of those people, and they can analyze what actually these people segments, to where segments these people will fall. That's the differentiation between the supervised and unsupervised environment. The next fundamental feature of the AI is the neural networks. Actually, neural networks is the results of machine learning, and then it is represented by a networks of nodes, and each node in the neural network is connected to many other nodes in an intricate web of interconnection. For example, when and then I'm sorry, I think I'm jumping. When an input is received, then the machine will analyze the data and activates nodes which it has been thought to relate to the input. And then if the next node or association has an output with a high enough score, it will propagate another connection with its related items. But if it doesn't, the connection will stop, and further associations are not made. Um, for example, if you give the data about the elephant, for example, then the the machine learning will make a neural networks based on the data. For example, if you give if you are given a word elephant, then what you will think? Maybe you will think about trunks, the elephant trunks, or the ear, or the body, or maybe any other things. For example, there could be uh, um, there could there is snacks, for example, with the logo elephant on that on on the packaging, for example. Kacang atom gajah, for example. Yeah, you will find an elephant picture on the on the packaging. Then it's it will uh, it could also be connected to the elephant words, and it could be done by these networks, by the neural networks. So when you give elephant on the machine learning, it can associate that words um, with the body parts of the elephant, as I said before, like the trunks, and then the ears, the body, the tails, the legs, right? But um, it can be a um, one um, one flows of networks that developed by the machine learning. But and if it is enough, according to the machine learning, then the flows will be stopped, and they will find another association uh, of the elephant words, for example, the kacang atom gajah, for example. And then they will develop another flows related to kacang atom gajah, for example, the supermarket, for example. And then Semarang is the location of kacang atom gajah's plants, for example. And then after it is enough, and then it will be stopped, and it will develop another flows of association. That's how the neural networks um, um, operates. And then the last tools of AI is the deep learning. Actually, um, it is the same with machine learning, and um, it's also produced the neural networks, but the difference is these tools have a capabilities to 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 dig deeper, to analyze more comprehensive, to analyze deeper compared to the machine learning. That's the deep learning. And then after we discussed about the fundamentals tools of IoT, we now can bring another discussion about how actually we can apply AI in a in our daily activities, especially in IoT. Uh, Actually, if you talk about AI, maybe some of you feel that it's quite a new words for you. It's quite a novel term for you. But actually, if you see your surroundings, you will may uh, realize that actually your uh, daily routines uh, has have interacted intensely with AI. For example, Spotify and online marketplace such as Shopee, for example. When you use Spotify, for example, when you put one song in your playlist, then you will be given another songs that are related to your choice. That's the example how AI has applied in your in your apps, for example. Another one is Shopee, for example. Uh, it's almost the same. When you look for several things, several products, for example, you look for uh, um, a computer or laptops, for example. Then after that, you will be given several alternatives of laptops in your home in your home page, for example. And maybe you will be given another products that related to laptops, for example, mouse or speakers or printers or headsets, for example. That's how actually AI has been applied in your technology, in your devices, in your apps, in your IoT. And then, um, however, actually, AI is not only take place on that kind of device in the cyberspace, for example. Actually, AI and IoT have been collaborate in another aspects of human life, such as in logistics, in education, healthcare, and customer service. We will discuss it one by one. The first one is the collaboration between IoT and AI in healthcare. Um, we know that actually it is quite complex when you apply this technology in healthcare, because you know that um, several issues in healthcare industry is confidential, is a privacy. For example, the COVID-19 disease. Um, when you are attacked by this disease, by the COVID-19 disease, actually our country guarantee the privacy of of the patient of the COVID-19 disease. Um, I mean, there is uh, nobody that have uh, that have authority to get the information that you are getting attacked by the COVID-19 disease. I mean, that's your privacy. That's a confidential information. That's why actually it is quite complex when we apply IoT and AI in healthcare industry. But um, but actually, of course, AI and IoT still can contribute to the development of a healthcare industry. For example, as we discussed before about the wearables, about the smartwatch, for example. Yeah. Um, Actually, that's the how the AI and IoT collaborate in healthcare industries. We can see the example in the wearables industry, wearables device, smartwatch device, right? And actually, by using the technology of AI and IoT together, uh, the healthcare industries, specifically the doctors, can collect a huge amount of data from the wearables, from the smartwatch. They can collect, for example, the heart rate data, and then for example, the glucose, and then the oxygen saturation, and it could be a useful data to develop the role of wearables in healthcare industries. For example, the doctors can analyze the data of the data that gain from the wearables to identify the health condition of people with certain levels of glucose, heart rate, and then oxygen saturation. And by the role of machine learning and then deep learning and neural networks, it can develop uh, the pattern of the health pattern, and then the disease, and then the health problems experienced by people that use wearables, that use smart watch. And it could be very useful in developing diagnosing systems for the doctors, for example. Yeah. And then another um, industries where IoT and AI can be very influential is in the logistics. Um, as I said before, that one of the major device used in the logistics system is the RFID. I hope you remember this. Um, when there is a conjunction between AI and RFID, for example, then the companies can use the data of production and then the routing, the delivery to make more efficient production, routing, and delivery in the future based on the data of the production, routing, and delivery in the previous time. And then the AI and IoT can also be can also become influential in analyzing the market trends, for example. That's the other use of IoT and AI in logistics. And then in education, it's also become another industries where IoT and AI can complement together. For example, Bill Gates, he believes that AI may help enable an education systems where students have constantly available and open resource. The traditional education, for example, what we are what we are experience today, of course, have a lot of limitation. For example, we can in the face-to-face context. Yeah, I talk about the face-to-face learning context. We have several limitations. For example, it's uh, it will it will only uh, it will only um, applicated when um, there is a schedule for a certain course, for example. For example, um, if for example our class, for example, it is scheduled on a Saturday, for example, on a 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, then you will only receive my lessons in that schedule, right? And that's one of the limitation of this traditional education. But if you develop the education using the AI and IoT, uh, you may receive the lessons in a more um, dynamic um, dynamic way. For example, in a more flexible time. For example, you can hear the lessons uh, when you think you won, right? That's the advantage of IoT and AI in education. And then if the IoT and AI also can can develop virtual tutors, for example, as according to Bill Gates. By the presence of these virtual tutors, for example, students will not worry about asking so many questions to that tutors, right? It will be it is different with the traditional education. You may feel inconfident, or uh, you may feel afraid if you ask too many questions to me, for example, or to another lecturers, for example. That's the advantage, another advantage of uh, collaboration between IoT and AI in education. And then the last one is the collaboration of IoT and AI in interactive assistance. You know that um, um, communication with customer relations sometimes become very inconvenient, become very uncomfortable because um, that's the yeah the disadvantage of the traditional customer service. You may meet several or some customer service that are rude uh, or not sympathetic, and any other negative things about customer relationship. Or you may feel that the cost the process of complaints will take a very long time. That's the disadvantage of traditional customer service. But with the presence of IoT and AI in the customer service, you can gain you can experience a more efficient and a more convenient communication with the customer service. For example, I just bought a ticket, a flight from Jakarta to Taipei for my PhD degree. Uh, then I contact the customer service, and actually, I then realized that it is actually the AI that answers several of basic questions. Then, after the questions become more specific, uh, uh, then the agent, the customer service agent will then communicate with me. But if the question is the basic question, then actually the answer will be given by the systems, by the AI actually. That's the example how AI and IoT implemented in interactive assistance, especially in customer relationships. I think that's all for my presentation today. I hope this useful for you. Um, Please stay safe and healthy, and see you next week. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.